All right. All right, everyone. Welcome to our grassroots call, our weekly call. Glad you could all join us tonight. We're going to, I hope you got my message, we're going to change our agenda around a bit tonight. And I'm going to move the topic that I wanted all of us to talk about. I'm moving it to the front of the agenda, so this will be the first thing we talk about. So after we're finished with this topic, Paul and hopefully if Ken comes in, you guys can go ahead and leave the meeting if you want, or you're certainly welcome to participate in the rest of our meeting. I will say ahead of time that this is a very highly intellectual meeting, so you know, you need to take that into consideration.
I'm in the wrong place.
Aren't we all? Aren't we all? Okay. And once again, to remind you, if you're speaking, to click your camera on while you're talking, and then turn it off while you're not talking, and keep yourself muted so we don't get any echoes. But so I guess I probably ought to initiate this screen sharing. I should have done this before the meeting started and forgot to do it. So I'll do that right now. And hopefully that is this is our agenda for tonight. We'll talk about this topic up front here. Then we'll cover the DCRT report, the LMT report, the training report, a little quick review of the inaction policy again, more for my benefit than anything. And our next meeting, then, that should be changed to what, May 11th is what that should be changed to. So there we go. All right. So let's get started here. The first thing I want to talk about is a topic here that a district captain brought to my attention again, and we'll just call this District Captain Joe. This is a real district captain that we just removed from his district captain duties. But Joe is a district captain that I had lunch with him back in February down in Anderson. Joe had expressed some interest in becoming a region captain. So I had lunch with him and went over, you know, the duties of a district captain as well as the duties of a region captain. He decided not to pursue the region captain, but in our conversation, he expressed to me being a past state, that there doesn't seem to be that sense of urgency anymore, and that there just doesn't seem to be any motivation since we're a past state and we've, you know, passed the resolution. So anyway, I shortly after that luncheon meeting, I tried to connect with Joe again, and Joe never returned my calls, never returned my emails. Went for 2 weeks, never heard from him again. Then all of a sudden he pops up. Okay. Well, this has happened kind of over and over, not being responsive. Then all of a sudden he popped up. Had a heck of a time getting him started in the training program. which I was really disappointed about because I really thought Joe would benefit from the training program. One of the existing DCs that we didn't really get off to a good start, so I really was hoping he would benefit from the training program. Then he finally got through Module 1, had Module 2 scheduled, never showed up, never contacted Rachel, just didn't show, no show, and no contact. So anyway, I couldn't get a response from him again, so I finally just sent him a removal letter to remove him as district captain. Well, what I want to read to you is Joe sent me a long email, and I won't read this whole thing to you, but there is a paragraph here that I think is an issue that I think is very important to us, and I want to say even because we're a past state, but in other conversations I've heard that it's not necessarily just past states, but I think it's prevalent in past states. So I'm going to read this paragraph to you. It seems to me that the Achilles heel elements of trying to keep people, quote, enthused and involved revolve around, A, that those in the states that have already passed the resolution must, quote, bide their time while waiting for enough other states to get on board, and B, that we are a long way away and probably a long time away from the requisite number of additional states to pass the resolution and to bring Convention of States into being. In such a setting, there's probably only so much one can do to, quote, keep the troops engaged. People's lives are busy and full, and the priorities they place on their time will consciously or subconsciously be directed to the matters that have more urgency, relatively speaking, than COS. Which is not to say that COS effort is not important. It is vitally important. It is just to say that it, by its nature, is not urgent, and persons in past states can do virtually nothing to impact that urgency. So, what do you think about what Joe is saying here?
This is George. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay. I was offline for a little bit. You're talking about Joe Christen?
No, this is just I'm not going to say his name. I'm just
okay.
Joe's just a made up name.
Oh, okay. I'm I'm sorry. That's the part that I missed. So.
Okay.
yeah. Well, I have kind of an issue with what he said there, because I think the urgency grows more and more every day, and since we're past state, our emphasis now is in education, and I think as people become more educated and they start to see that urgency, and a lot of being in grassroots is being active in your local governments and stuff. And what are we going to wait till the last minute before we do something when it's damn near too late? Look at the left and progressives and things that are up against us now, and the things that they're doing now, and with politics and double standard, triple standard as far as justice goes, and things of that sort. Those are battles that we fight every day.
Right. Right. Are we falling down in keeping our supporters engaged? Are we falling down in keeping our leaders enthused and involved?
Well, I guess to some extent, yeah, because look at our numbers. We have a hard time filling DCs, and we have a hard time holding on to them.
Yeah, this is Paul. I think we're taking the right steps. You know, it's probably discouraging to see the number of district captains leave, but they weren't really district captains because they weren't doing anything. And I think particularly with this training program that Rachel has put together, we are engaging the new district captains, giving them more direction and more of a sense of urgency.
Okay. Do we? Okay, let's take it from that point, Paul. Are there other things that we need to be doing to keep that sense of urgency, that level of motivation up that these new district captains have at this point in time? Do we need to do something to keep that motivation level up? Are they going to be as motivated 8 months from now as they are right now?
Well, yeah, of course we want to keep their motivation up. You know, the thing about Joe, whoever he is, Joe's perspective is I doubt he went through the training program. And so I don't think he has a full perspective of where we actually are today.
I would agree with that. I think you're right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it's something that.
You want me to give an input there?
Nah, we don't want to hear from you, Rodney.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
Yes, please do.
The sun behind me.
Please do.
That's good.
Please.
Yeah. Well, first of all, obviously his total focus is on the convention and ratification. And yeah, that has to be there, and there is a waiting period for that. What I've tried to kind of mention on state calls is, well, before I get there, there's always events and recruiting you can go to. That's probably not his thing. Doing presentations. Paul gets on the radio. A couple of you guys get on the radio. Going to other groups, getting involved politically. And just the recruiting effort. The thing I've tried to kind of mention from time to time on phone calls is, and I think you've referred to it as political activism, Dale, but George kind of hit on it, was there's local issues that can be looked at and form a team to either support or fight against, and there's also state things that can be done there as well. So there's several things that can be done as far as, it's not urgency, but things that can be done to keep people active.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
The states that are the most active, and Michelle said it last night on the state director webinar, or grassroots webinar, was the states that are the most active are the ones that form that community on Slack, where they're sharing things that are going on in the state and around the country and all that, and then just random news or whatever on the random channel. So it's kind of a matter of what you guys are trying to do with that training program, is create a community of people in the state, almost like a family. So that's just kind of my thoughts on it.
So for the rest of you, like I said, this issue is not just our particular issue. This was kind of talked about last night on the state director's call, and there are many states that are entertaining this problem about keeping people motivated, keeping people enthused. But I just want to say that that Slack, Rodney, that Slack suggestion. That's a good one. I know Rachel's been wanting to do some things on our Slack team to improve that, and I think that's a good suggestion that would lend itself to the community and communicating with each other. But let me say this, and I want your reaction to it, all of you. It seems to me that if you volunteer, by the way, let's remember we're all volunteers, and we don't work in the same building, so we don't see each other day in and day out. Okay, but if you're a volunteer and you volunteer to be a leader in Convention of States, then it seems to me like you're taking on and accepting the responsibility of being enthused and the responsibility of being involved and the responsibility to keep the people that you manage engaged. It seems to me that's one of your responsibilities. As a matter of fact, now that I think about it, it's probably spelled right out in each of the training manuals. So I guess the point I'm saying is that a good leader will take on and accept that responsibility.
So you're talking about being self-motivated, right?
Yeah. Yeah. That's the kind of people we want. So, I mean, I'm just like anyone else. I like to hear Mark Meckler from time to time, come on and give a rah-rah speech. I like to hear that. But otherwise, the cause that we're working toward, if you're a responsible leader, you should be motivated and engaged on that cause all the time, it seems to me. So, anybody have any other thoughts on this?
So you're suggesting we come up with some kind of regular rah-rah of our own?
Well, I would like to, I don't know what I'm looking for here other than maybe some suggestions. If you think we can do a better job of that, the rah-rah from time to time, let me know. And we'll certainly entertain that. Again, I guess I think it's a leader's responsibility, but it certainly doesn't hurt to from time to time do some rah-rah. I would hope our state calls provide some rah-rah, I would think. But if you think there's some other things we need to be doing, let me know.
Okay.
Well, so one thing that might help with this is something that I think National is going to end up doing it at some point, because we talked about it last time we were in Midland, and I've actually thought about this for a long time, and I was hoping we were getting more organized, but we kind of stalled with the manuals, which weren't the best. That's the only thing I think that came out of Midland. Well, some tech stuff was Citizen Builder did. But what we talked about there, you've heard them and seen the aspirational goals that they have mentioned and displayed on webinars, and along with the grassroots mission. And what we had talked about there in quite a bit of detail in Midland was SMART goals for everybody. And it's not defining SMART goals for people. And Dale, I think, well, any of you that worked in the corporate world, it's, you kind of come up with a goal from the top and you flow that down to the next level and on down to the very bottom level. And all that way down, those people underneath, as you go down, define their own goals that apply to the upper level goal. And I kind of think at the district captain level, I don't know if you guys are doing this because you've already got your state goal, but as well, me and Angie could come up with some kind of formal document on this, on what I'm saying basically, and it would be optional for the states, especially as some of them are having their strategy meetings. It's going to be too late, and I hate it when national everybody comes out with all these requirements after a strategy meeting's been held and they've made their own plans, so I don't go that route. But yeah, so it would be like, what are you going to do to help achieve this goal at your level, to give them some commitment, buy into it, and maybe some enthusiasm there. Along with that, you got to kind of come up with a list of things ahead of time that as suggestions to get them thinking about what they could do to achieve those goals that they set.
Well, one of my thoughts, one of my plans when we had our region captains in place was that I wanted every region to basically come up with a set of their own goals, you know, that would relate to the goals at the state level. So I was wanting to kind of build it from the bottom up, but we've just had we just don't have the structure in place yet, and but that is something that I would like to do eventually once we get region captains in place and some more district captains in place.
Okay, I'm going to give my 2 cents now, and I'm warning you guys, it's going to be very negative, but I have to be honest. I don't think any of these issues that we're talking about, even though they're all great ideas, I don't think any of these actually address the issue that was being brought up in that email. My understanding of the issue, which I actually agree with, it's not so much that we don't have processes in place and we don't have goals. The problem is that our goals are not really connected to anything, any results other than the goal. So we want to grow grassroots because we want to grow grassroots. We're telling district captains we want you to get more petition signers because we want more petition signers. And yes, there's this whole amorphous thing of we want people to be self-governing, we want to engage people, which I always stress this, and I'm not saying it's a bad thing, but I think the point that this person was getting to, which is well taken, is that since we're already past, and let's be realistic, it might be 2 years, 3 years before we get to a convention, it's great that we put these strategies in place on what to do, but the reality is that it's very hard to keep people motivated when they're just supposed to be, you know, growing the grassroots for the purpose of growing the grassroots, and we feel like as a state that's already passed, we have no way to further the convention because everything that getting to the convention depends on is happening outside of our state, and we have no way. I mean, yeah, we can make phone calls for other states, but I don't think that really engages people. I think the frustration is that because each state has to do its own work to pass, we're sitting here basically being like, come on, guys, you know, what's going on in Iowa? What, you know, we're following it, but we have no way to actually affect. We can't help Iowa really. I mean, as district captains, you can't do anything to get Iowa's act together, to go down to their legislator, or to help them, you know, get people to vote for this. And I feel like we're kind of stalled at this number. We've been at 12 for a long time, and I'm not pessimistic about getting to the convention. I just think that it's a real issue, and that the idea that we're going to get people excited to grow the grassroots because we want people to be self-governing and we want people to be active can only go so far. And even setting a goal in the region, oh, we want to get to X amount of sign. I mean, again, I might be totally off base, but when I see our mission statement, our vision statement, I think they're great in theory, but like, what's the difference? I mean, realistically, like going from 26,000 to 30,000 petition signers, in reality, what does that change? Other than the fact that we have 4,000 more people that are technically signed on, but most of those people are not actually doing anything. They just signed the petition, let's be honest, right? So we'll get 4,000 more signers. We'll be at 30,000. It's great, Indiana. We met our goal. We met our mission statement. And now we have, what, three more people that are actually going to actually be involved. And I don't know that goal it looks good on paper, but I don't know that it actually, what are we actually I'm having trouble articulating. I hope you guys understand what I'm saying.
Yeah. Well, you're spot on. The whole thing.
Hold on. Rodney, you go on.
Me?
Yeah.
You're spot on with everything you said. The goals I was talking about, once you see them, if you see them, they're totally engagement. It's not really growing the grassroots or getting to 30 million or anything like that. It's really getting engaged in your community, the politics in the community, and programs and other areas. So it's
Okay. That's good.
Civil engagement. Yeah. What else was it you said? Oh, affecting the other states and helping them pass. That's a tough one. There have been a couple of efforts where we've tried to get district captains and volunteers to engage with their legislators. You guys were involved with that kind of in Mississippi. It was more of a rally there, but it was trying to find out who would go and who would get engaged. So that's cool. But then in some states like Michigan, they're keeping it silent because they have to. It's a strategy there. And Iowa, it's a caucus. Nobody knows who's holding it up there. So you can't even talk to you don't know what legislators to talk to. The grassroots have really done a great job there. So sometimes it's a strategy in the state and we can't affect it. But yeah, I keep mentioning it to the other RDs. I'm working with Grant Martin right now in North Carolina and trying to get something going there with the past states where they can help out. So,
I mean, I guess my point is, I agree with everything you're saying. I'm not saying, I'm asking a rhetorical question. I'm not saying that there's an answer to this. I'm just trying to identify with the frustration of the fact that, we're sitting here in Indiana, ultimately, because you have to assume that most people that sign their petition and most people that are volunteering, they want a convention to happen. And we're kind of helpless other than just sitting by waiting for that part to happen. And I know there's no way to do it, but I think that's part of the reason why it's so difficult, because we're just sitting here and we're waiting for news from other states, and we're just we have no control over when this happens, whether this happens in a year, in 3 years, in 5 years. So I just think that's kind of the nature of this whole enterprise, that it kind of creates this situation where it's going to lead to frustration.
Well, if you step back a little bit and think of the whole scope of what we are, it's citizens for self-governance. So what people need to learn to do is be self-governing. And that's getting involved in their local politics. Go to PTA meetings and do political party meetings and town halls, that sort of thing. PTAs, and we need to teach them to be involved, and that gives them some meat to chew on, because not only does it teach them about how things work in their local area, but they see what's actually going on, and they may agree, or they can support the things that they agree with and argue against the things that they don't agree with. And because that's our whole purpose, is to teach people how to be self-governing anyway. So let's start teaching people to be self-governing. I don't think a lot of people know how to do that. They just think it's pointless and whatever. But when you start learning what's going on in your local community and be involved in it, there's motivation right there. We're a past state, so what's the next step? The next step is to learn how to be self-governing. And the only way I know of to do that is to get involved.
I mean, I understand that, George, and I totally agree with you. And this is, I think maybe this might be my problem, is that, I understand that that's the ultimate goal, and there's this whole thing of, even if we don't pass the resolution, we've still succeeded. But the problem is that I have with this is that we have to recognize, and again, I'm being honest, not great news, but people that are signing this petition are not signing a petition in general to learn how to be self-governing. People are not signing up to be district captains because they want a general civics education. That's a byproduct that we hopefully get out of this. But people are signing on here because they want a convention of states. And so I think there's a disconnect when the idea is that, I think everything you're saying is great, George, and we obviously want to do that. But I don't know that there are people that are, that's going to be sufficient to tell people, well, there's nothing really to do right now. as far as furthering Convention of States, other than our 34 Ready and stuff like that, and to talk about it. But, you know, in the meantime, we want you to become active in your government. Well, is that really, I don't know. I guess I have
well,
to.
You know, I'm talking about like district captains start that ball rolling.
Right.
You know, they go themselves and they get involved themselves. I mean, that's part of the responsibility of being a district captain. You're the leader in your district. So be a leader and get involved and bring a friend with you and grow it like that and start getting people that are supporters that say they want to volunteer in your district. Get them to go to these things. They want to volunteer, then get involved and you know.
All right. All right.
Okay.
Okay, we gotta move on. Paul, now that you got us all wound up, you can leave if you want to.
I didn't mean to get you all wound up.
This is all your fault, Paul.
Okay.
No,
Can I just say one last thing on this real quick?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, George and Rachel are both right, and I just had a conversation with Grant Martin, Regional Director, today about this, and it's almost like we should have called this grassroots.com or something like that. But the Convention of States being the goal to get to, the short-term goal to get to, but it's really long. On the non-pass state side, so I have a view of that as well. And even if you have, you're working to pass the resolution, they still have a big problem keeping district captains on board. I mean, they'll assign them, and the next day you can't get a hold of them, just like Bill was talking about.
Right.
So it's not just a past states thing. It does get amplified in the past states until you get. The way I see it is, you're gonna find the key people. It's gonna be the 5%. You just keep recruiting people, or the people keep getting recruited, and you'll find the 5% is still the 5% of the total, but it grows, and you have those passionate people that get engaged. And that's what I'm seeing in the States, is the number of passionate people growing, but it's the overall number is growing as well, and those people are staying engaged. I think your training program is going to help that along big time.
Yeah. I think that getting involved is kind of like twofold then too, because not only does it strengthen us and what's the word? It builds our self-confidence, but it also shows the leaders in your district that people are getting involved. You know, so there's twofold benefit from that.
Okay. All right, guys.
All right, I'm done.
All right.
All right. Well, that lasted about twice as long as I thought it would. So we'll move on to the next topic here and get into our reports. And did Paul leave? No, Paul's still here. Okay.
Not for long.
I think we wanted Paul to stay to talk about the training program because we were going to discuss his module, and right?
Oh, yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
You tell me I can leave, now you tell me I got to stay?
Now I get your hopes all.
And I said you have to stay, and I have no authority over you, so I guess you can leave.
No, I'll hang out.
You gonna hang on? Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Good. Okay. Let's go into our district captain recruitment tracking report, and so George, tell us about this. I've got some questions.
Well, I don't have a whole lot to say because this week has been kind of lean. I think part of it's been nice weather. I know I spent a lot of time outdoors and getting mowers ready and out and about, things of that sort. TK didn't get any calls in this week. He had things going on with his boys. Gary had a lot of involvement with his church. Both TK and Gary are talking about hitting the phones hard tomorrow, over the weekend, but mostly tomorrow. and they're going to give me updates tomorrow afternoon. Mindy's been making calls. She's called one of our applicants, a DC applicant. She's talked to him already. He's from District 41. She likes him a lot. I've tried calling him today, but he had family over, and I've rescheduled to talk with him on Monday. But as far as any real calls made to volunteers, that was pretty lean this week. But I expect it to be, maybe this is the bottom, and then we'll start turning this around.
Well, George, these people are not making you look very good here, guy. You know that?
I know.
Well, I have good news to add. I have good news to add to that, hopefully. So Mindy who is one of our new district captains, she's going to be on this new position that we created, this region captain team. She's very interested in becoming a region captain, for anyone on here that doesn't know. But since she's a brand new district captain, we're not going to have her do that yet, obviously. So she is gung-ho to start making recruitment calls. I'm going to be overseeing that. I've already created a spreadsheet for her. I just heard back from her a little while. She's out of town, but she's going to be back on Monday, and she's free. She said she'll make calls all day on Monday. So hopefully we'll make progress on Region 4. I think there's only, I made the spreadsheet. I think total in Region 4, there's not that many calls to make. I think it's 100 and maybe like 120 or so. So hopefully we'll get some progress on Region 4.
Your spreadsheet, can you kind of coordinate that with the other spreadsheet? Because
no.
I got Gary making calls in 27 and 30, and those are in Region 4.
Yeah. Well, you just need to. We can talk about that, but
all right.
I mean, she can certainly start with we'll have her start with the. I meant by saying no, I meant that I can't mesh it with yours, but yeah, absolutely, I'll have her start in the just so that you know, George. The way that I put the spreadsheet together is I actually went into every district and I went through and counted how many calls had been made. So I saw in some of the districts that Gary had made maybe like 3 calls. So I already took those into account. So there's not going to be any overlap, but we can certainly talk about, I can have her do those districts last and, catch up to any that Gary hasn't finished at that point. So we'll figure it out.
Okay. Well, you're talking about Region 4, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
George, what districts is Ed Paraguay assigned to?
I thought we lost contact with Ed. I had a district assigned for him. I could never get a hold of him to find out what was going on or what.
Okay.
When's the last you heard from Ed?
Oh, about 2 weeks ago. He's here.
Yeah. All right, I'll reach out to him again. And I'm talking to Mary for Module 4 training on Sunday evening, and I'll talk to her about, see if she's willing to help with some calls too.
Okay, I would like at our next meeting, a week from tonight, I would like to see all the red districts assigned to people, and I would like to see some numbers here as to calls made. Is what I'd like to see.
Okay. Is there a column for that already?
Huh?
This is George. Is there a column for that already? There's status, number of calls made, total?
Right.
Yeah,
okay.
There's just nothing in there.
Right.
Yeah.
I would like for all the red districts here, these are the ones you have identified where there were no calls made. I want those all called by the end of May. We got to get this done.
Okay, yeah, I got 31 districts like that so far.
All right. By the end of May. All right.
I guess I can ask you this later, but number of calls made, you're talking about attempts, and if nobody answered, left a voicemail, they sent an email or can't make a you're counting emails sent in that as well?
No, just calls. I'm really not counting emails. I know they have to do that.
You mean call attempts then?
Huh?
You mean call attempts?
No, I'm talking about calls that were successful. You connected with someone.
Don't expect very big numbers then.
Well, no, they're not going to be. They're not going to be as big as the potential number of volunteers in each of these. I know it will be less, but we're after. We're after. I want to know how many people are being called. How many people are being talked to?
Okay, so voicemail, does that count or not? If nobody,
not if they didn't talk to the person.
Okay, so you're talking about physical communication with somebody. Okay.
Right.
All right.
Okay.
All right.
All right. Okay, let's go then to the LMT report. Now, I want to back up one thing here. I want on each of these reports. I want to get myself straightened out here. On the DCRT report, George, you're the one doing the input on this report, right?
Yeah.
All right. You do the input. Okay. Okay, now on the LMT report, are you doing this also, George?
I'm making updates on it as they're done. Yeah, if there's anybody that's overseeing that, I don't know. But yeah, I've been keeping it up to date as things happen in it.
Okay.
I guess I didn't have the opens in there like last week or something, but that was my own brain fart. So.
Rachel, are you inputting anything to the LMT report here?
I don't do anything with LMT, so I haven't been. I don't actually talk to anyone, so I figured I don't have anything to put in.
Okay.
Yeah,
all right.
I didn't. Yeah, okay. Since I do a lot of this work, I guess it pretty much falls on me, and it helps me stay organized as well as informing you guys too. So.
Okay. So when we have a meeting like this, a weekly meeting, then these reports should be up to date to the very minute. Okay.
Well, give me a half hour, dude. Jeez.
Huh?
I got to get online, and it can't be up to the minute. Give me a half hour or so, because I got to get online and everything and stuff. So.
Well,
never mind. I understand. Never mind.
Okay. All right.
I'm just being George.
All right. So.
And as far as I know, they are all up to date right now.
Okay.
To the best of my knowledge.
If you got people on here that are rejected, then they shouldn't be on this report, right?
Well, if you note all the way over, I keep them on there so you guys can see that. And like James Petty's been rejected, and I'm taking him off the list. Remove the entry May 4th.
All right. All right.
So I leave them up there for a couple of days so you guys see that. So when you look at the list, there's only 3 people on there. So where did everybody go?
Okay. All right. Okay. All right. All right. The only Diane Hurt. Now, as far as I know, I've approved her, and I think Gary interviewed her, and he approved her too, right?
She's in training, isn't she?
She should be assigned to the DC team for 25. That's the district where Casey Pickerel is the DC. Okay.
So updated.
Okay. Well, these things need to be done before the meeting here. Now, these last 2 down here at the bottom, are those the only 2 new ones we have?
There's 3 of Mark Potts, William and David Todd are 3 new ones. I've tried contacting Mark. I've talked to both William and David. David is scheduled. He had family over tonight. Couldn't talk. I'm scheduled to talk with him on the 7th. It's that Monday, right? Monday 6th.
Mm-hmm.
And William Pepin, we've been kind of playing phone tag. I left a voicemail for him. He texted me back, and then I tried calling him, and he was in a meeting at work, and so he's willing, and we'll make contact, but it's just playing phone tag at this point. Right? I figure I'll be able to get hold of him tomorrow and stuff, being Saturday and all. We won't be at work.
All right. Okay. Anybody have any questions on this report? We're moving along, but we need more names on here, don't we? Yeah.
I got Joe Christian updated. I got him as passed by Gary, and so I just missed Diane. So
okay. All right. Let's go then to our training report. Are you following this, Paul? I know it's, like I said, this is pretty intellectual. I just, are you following along on this?
Oh, yeah, I'm taking lots of notes.
Good deal. Yeah, you need to.
We all are, Paul. We all are. Dale, check.
Rachel.
Okay. So training is updated. I update it every time an event happens, so it's always updated. The only thing that I want to mention, and let me just ask, so Diane Hurt, I know that normally as a DC team, we would probably want the district captain to kind of train her, but since Casey's a new district captain, do we want to maybe put Diane Hurt through module? Well, we have to talk about what to do with her, because I know she's DC team, but we have to figure out what to do. So she's not on here, I don't think, because I didn't know.
No, I don't care.
What we were going to do with her.
Rachel, I think we should put her through the whole thing.
Okay, so I'll add her on. But yeah, so if you go down to the bottom, the best news is at the bottom. We've got 6 people that have completed training. And the reason I'm keeping them on here, I know, Dale, you don't like to keep things on tracking sheets if they're not currently in status, but the reason they're on here is because I personally want to check in with them. I don't want to let them more than a month go by before I check in with them, especially if they don't have region captains. So I want to keep track of, have a place where I can keep track of when they finish training, so I know I can check in with them and say, oh, how's it been going the last, couple of weeks or whatever.
Okay.
So yeah, so those are done. And then, sorry, go ahead.
The date, I'm sorry. The date that you put for them is the date they completed training?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. And so, otherwise, we have a couple of people. This is the worst, for Rodney and for Paul, because George and Dale know this. This list, when I first started training back in the beginning of March, we had at one time, I think we had 32 people on here. We've added a bunch of new people, so I would say that we've probably had over 40 people through that have been supposed to start training since we started, and this is what we're down to. We've lost a lot of people, so it can be kind of frustrating to see the list getting shorter and shorter and shorter. We have 2 people on here now who are on the cusp of being cut, and one of them I'm very surprised, because he was very, very enthusiastic of the first module, and actually, spoke to me and promised he was going to schedule, and now he hasn't. So what we do is that basically, I send them the email, then there's a follow-up phone call, and then we give them 2 weeks deadline, and then they get a removal letter. So as far as my piece of the training, it's going fine. Dale and Rodney know because I just did a presentation on this last night. But there have been a couple of changes, but I'm actually pretty surprised that it hasn't been modified as much as I thought it was going to be in the beginning. And other than that, Steve Frazee, Luella is potentially going to be an issue. What's his name?
Has anyone heard from Victor?
Yes, but I finished when I finished Tim's training up last week. He said that Victor was going to check in with him, I think like on the 10th, and update him on the status. So he'll let us know. So he's around. I've seen him on Facebook. He posts on Facebook all the time, so he's okay. I mean, he's around. It's unclear whether he's going to be able to continue or not, and we still don't know exactly what's going on. He has a health issue.
Right.
But overall, it's been going fine. Again, and this kind of brings in Paul. We have this hiccup with trying to figure out what to do with Module 3. Where we are right now, and Paul, you can correct me if I'm wrong, is we've decided to continue the structure. So other than George's module, I'm going to be administering the rest of the modules. So I'm going to be administering Paul's module, even though it's his module. So what's going to happen is that when they're ready for Module 3, just like with Module 1 and 2, I'll be sending them an email with the same instructions to get in touch with me. But the things that they'll be told to do is to watch Paul's video, to provide Paul with their address, and to download Paul's zip kit. And then they are to inform me when they have done all that. And I also give them the information that there's going to be a monthly web conference Q&A, and I give them the date of the next one. And then after they've acknowledged to me that they have viewed the video and downloaded and reviewed Paul's information, they are then passed on to schedule with George. The one thing, and I wanted Paul to be on this for now, is that I have to say that I'm a little bit concerned about them not having an opportunity right after reviewing the materials to discuss and ask questions, because I worry that, waiting. So let's say we have somebody who signs up to do Module 3 like the day after the last web conference. And then they have to wait, a month before the next one. And by then they've already done 2 other modules, and they might, be very ready to start being a district captain, and they might even become a district captain, and yet they haven't even had a chance to ask those questions yet. I understand that they're not necessarily going to jump into doing the legislative stuff immediately, but I was thinking if maybe it would be potentially helpful for me to schedule a web conference with them in the normal way that I do, just to kind of, review some of the stuff in Paul's video, but I don't feel like I have the expertise to do that, and I don't want to step on his toes. So I just wanted to get thoughts about that, if anyone else thinks it's an issue.
Well, part of what we were doing this for was so they could meet the other leaders and stuff, right?
Yeah, and they will meet Paul, because Paul will do a in-person web conference, but he's not able to. He doesn't have the time.
Oh, okay.
He doesn't sit around and do nothing else with his life like we do, apparently. So it's understandable that he's not going to do. I mean, sitting for 3 hours a day, scheduling all these people to sit one-on-one is kind of, only crazy people do that. And I'm getting the sense that he's not fully insane yet. So.
Well, we can work on that.
I don't want to speak for Paul since he's here. It's very rude.
Yeah, hang up for a minute, Paul.
I mean, if you think it works better, I'm perfectly willing to do a one-on-one with each of the people once they finish the video.
Okay.
The one-on-ones have been working fine for me. It's a lot easier to schedule them. You're not trying to get everybody in one place at one time. It worked for me for the first 6.
Yeah,
got them all done within a week.
And I think the theory about doing the groups with Paul, which was a good idea, was that, because Dale and I sat in on it, and I don't know if you were there, George, that, they can discuss amongst themselves as an opportunity for them to kind of meet each other a little bit. But I just, we have a logjam issue with that, and we've tried to get around the logjam, but I don't know if we've fully conquered that issue at this point.
I recall my reservations about doing the one-on-one was that, when we got started here, when we first started, we had, like you said, we had a much larger number of people. And my concern was, that all of them were going to come in at one time. And
they did.
Huh?
They did. I was doing 4 a day, 7 days a week for the first month. Yeah.
Well, that's why I thought I was afraid if Paul did a one-on-one that we would have a big backup there. But if you think it's apparently not working out that way, so if you think you want to do the one-on-ones, go for it. Go ahead.
And even if you don't get into a lot of detail on the legislative stuff, it's nice getting to know the people a little bit better, and them to know you,
I think it also helps it with, I think it might make it, even, Paul, even if it's just like for 10, 15 minutes, I think it might make it easier for them to reach out to you in the future if you're, if they've had some one-on-one contact with you, perhaps.
All right, I will take care of it. I just counted up. There are, I'm counting 6 of them who I can start contacting to do one-on-ones with. So I'll get on that.
Okay, I don't want to. You're sure you're okay with it? I mean, we can try to work around it, but if you're comfortable,
if I wasn't okay, I'd say so.
Okay, good.
Paul, do you have access to the LMT spreadsheet that were like Dale's showing up now? Do you have access to that?
I have not seen it before. I don't know where it's stored.
I think I sent you the link a while back, but I'll resend it to you. The training tracking, so you can see everybody. Okay.
Hey, Rachel, one thing that would help me on this spreadsheet, are you the keeper of this?
Yes.
If I'm always curious, each of the modules, what's the topic of each one? Could you add just another line in there that says,
sure.
I know Module 3 is the legislative stuff now.
Sure.
But, I don't know what 1, 2, 4, and 5 are, and I'm just curious.
Okay. Yeah, they don't have official titles, but I actually created sort of titles for them with the presentation I did last night. So yeah, I'll change the titles. I'll put in the titles and I'll send you the link. It's a Google Sheets document, so you can update it. So once I send you the link, Paul, when you schedule people or when people complete, just fill in, under your module.
Okay.
And bookmark it. It makes it real easy to get back to.
Yep.
Okay. Are you finished, Rachel? Do you have any more?
No, I'm just going to have to go back and contact a few people because, again, it's fine, but, like, I sent Slacks to, so if you see people listed here, it says Slack text sent. So basically that was me sending them a text saying that they would, be able to attend the web conference. So Paul, just to let you know, if the people say Slack/text sent, they've already gotten, the information. I've already sent them the video. I've already sent them the link to the video, the link to the zip kit, I think, and I told them that they would attend the web conference. So I think it might be easier if I send them another Slack and tell them, or you can say this, I guess I'm sorry, I'm tired. Just acknowledge the fact that it may seem a little confusing to them since the Slack that I sent them told them that they could go ahead and schedule Module 4 and that they would just be waiting for the next web conference. So.
Okay.
Just keep in mind that when you Slack them, they might be like, what are you talking about? Like, I thought I was waiting for a web conference. That's the only thing.
Okay.
I got one real quick question. What's the zip kit you're talking about, of which you speak? What's the zip kit? I want it.
What?
What's the zip kit of which you speak? Well, you never know what you're getting for Christmas either, do you? But you still want it.
It's a collection of files that go with the 34-ready legislative plan, so the DCs can print off some documents that they're going to use in their discussion with the legislators.
Okay. Well, I'm a DC, too.
Well, I haven't seen you go through Module 3 yet.
And you're not
I just... Something's wrong here. I just lost my connection. Hello.
Rodney, did you have something else?
Yeah, quick question for Rachel. This kind of goes relates to the first topic. The people that dropped off, do you know why they dropped off, or they just disappeared?
Varies. We had a few people that had the consideration and the upbringing to actually contact me and let me know that, after reviewing, talking to their family, they think it's too much responsibility. We had a couple people that said they were moving out of state. I would say that the majority, unfortunately, though, are people that just never returned emails and phone calls. So we have people that, did the interviews, became district captains, signed on. They were all gung-ho. They were told they were going to get a training program, and they received the email from me. They got a call from George and never returned, never gave an excuse, and just never showed up. And then we have the more upsetting are the people who went through either the first module, the first and second module, and then just stopped answering texts and phone calls, and Dale has said, at this point, if they haven't responded to that, he's not interested in hearing what they have to say, and I agree with him. So that's really it's been a mix, but unfortunately there've been, I would say the majority of the drop-offs have been people who dropped off in that they said they wanted to be a district captain, but clearly they didn't actually want to do it. So, yeah. Would you say that's right, Dale? I mean,
yeah. That's being completely unresponsive to me is behavior that says I've thought about this and decided I don't want to do this after all. To me, that's what the behavior is saying.
I think that's the biggest national problem right there.
Yep. And I don't know, maybe, I think, Rodney, somebody mentioned, I think on a call last night that's human nature, and I think that's probably true. A lot of, we've all done that probably, to some extent at least, but, you would hope that people would be responsible enough to at least tell you that they're no longer interested, but apparently that's a scary thing to do for a lot of people. The point I want to bring out here before we close this up is this is where we get the people in working these districts and making the calls. This is where we get the people.
Top of the funnel.
The top of the funnel, exactly. The next step on the funnel is they hit the LMT. All right? And then the next step on the funnel is they get into the training program. And they either drop out or keeping this on a positive note, they go through the training and they become district captains. So that's the funnel. And if we break down somewhere in this funnel, then the whole thing breaks down. So that's why we gotta be making those calls. We gotta be hitting the phones and making those calls, getting them on the LMT, getting them processed, and getting them into the training program. All right. Okay, the last thing I wanted to just briefly touch on one more time is our inaction policy. And applicants that are on the LMT, we give them 2 weeks to respond. If they don't, then George, you send the rejection email, right?
Right.
If they are in process and they don't communicate with us in 2 weeks, you send the rejection email. Anyone then assigned from that point on that's assigned, that would be a DC, a DC team, as well as an existing position, then I handle that with a removal letter.
Right. Yeah, being
right?
assigned is whether or not they're assigned depends on, there's a determining factor as to who rejects them. If they're assigned, you got it. If it's before they're actually assigned, then I do the dirty work.
Right. All right. That's all I have for tonight. Anybody have
early.
I think our last one was about an hour and a half, wasn't it?
Yeah, last few have been.
Look like Ken joined. Hi, Ken.
Is Ken
better late than never, and I heard these things went on for 2 hours, so I thought I'd do the best of it.
The reason that this didn't go on for an hour and a half, the reason is because now we have a spreadsheet, so we have the information.
Right.
Yep.
I see. And it's because you were the major presenter, right, Rachel?
No. If I was presenting this call, it would be done in like 20 minutes because you know how fast I talk. So.
Yeah, nobody get a word in edgewise.
Exactly.
So, Ken, did you just join us?
No, I've been here since about quarter of.
Oh, you have? Oh.
You were
Well,
busy.
I
You're
just
the
want
host,
to
aren't
say
you, Dale? Come on.
congratulations on your new position. And
Thanks.
I'll send you an email as to what it's all about.
Okay.
Just kidding.
My new position, or is that my rejection letter?
No, just kidding, just kidding.
I know. No, better
right,
late
guys.
than never. And yeah, I caught since about quarter up. So I'll go back and listen to the tape.
Oh, that's right. We recorded this thing, didn't we? Okay.
Yeah.
I hope you did.
You're dating yourself calling it a tape.
That's true.
Well, and he's a videographer. He's our SGC.
I still do VHS transfers. What are you talking about?
Yeah. Well, yeah, but everybody knew what you were talking about. There wasn't any problem with it.
That's true.
Okay.
One way Ken or somebody could help with making Slack active in your new DCs and everybody, all the new people that are on Slack is Ken or somebody. It doesn't have to be Ken, but random channel post articles about nefarious things with the government and all that. Anything cause related that pops up either on anywhere else you see. If it's cause related, find a channel or create one to put it there and invite everybody. Sometimes, a lot of times, putting out that information there gets people to talking more about what they could do in the state and inspires them to do things.
That leads me to a quick question. Are most of our newer people getting on Slack, Dale, or we still have people that are not on Slack?
No, most of them are getting on Slack. That's a step in the training process where they're required to get on Slack. So
Module 2, isn't it?
Yeah, I think it's in Module 2, Rachel. Yeah.
I just didn't know if we had any slackers there. No pun intended.
Oh, God, Dale, put it on.
Yeah. Okay, Rodney, you got anything else?
Oh, just thanks for all those reports. That was great.
Okay. Well, I'm glad you could join us.
Something I don't see anywhere else.
All right,
Appreciate
guys.
your input, Rodney.
What was that?
Appreciate your input.
No problem. I tend to drag your calls out, though, I think.
No,
It's because you're in Missouri. That's a grand old state. I love Missouri. I used to spend a lot of time down in the Ozarks when I was a kid.
Well,
interesting.
Guys, that's it for tonight. Have a good weekend, and thank you all for what you're doing. And I think we're on the right track. We got to just keep plugging away.
Rah rah.
Yep. Yeah.
Yep.
All right. Good night,
Good night,
everyone.
everybody.
Good night.
Good night.
Hey.